And the second was, diamonds are very expensive. Okay? So, if you spend a lot of money on diamonds, okay, and you spend a lot of money on your campaign on very, very expensive means of reaching out to your customers, you're not going to have enough money to actually close the end of the month. At the same time, if you use something that's not like ice cream, which is not very expensive, okay, but it doesn't really do anything for you either. It just makes you fat. Guess what? You didn't achieve anything either. So the question is, how are you going to balance the activities that you're doing in your campaign? How are you going to balance the spend that you're actually engaging on in order to get the right results? She's getting a very important SMS right now. About is it shoes or shirts? Okay. The library, okay. So indirect response, we have what's called an input. Okay, and we've got an output, and we have what we call a feedback loop. What that basically means is, okay, we have something that we put out there. Okay, it can be a coupon that can be redeemed at the point of sale. We have a user who now takes that coupon and clips it from the newspaper or prints it out online. He goes into the store, he redeems the coupon, okay, and takes it home. Now with social media, the big advantage is I know exactly who got the coupon, and then maybe I even know who got the coupon and who gave the coupon to somebody else. And I can know exactly what worked in terms of my actual campaign. Now, if someone just clips a regular coupon out of a newspaper, I don't necessarily know that. I can maybe know what newspaper it came from, but that's where it stops. Because of social media, because if one of my friends passes it on to another, so I now can know who the influencers are, who the people that actually cause people to make purchases. If you remember going back to identify, everything that's done in social media is real time. I have a closed feedback loop that in real time I know what's working and what's not. I don't have to wait 30 days to figure it out. I can make changes and adjustments in the middle of the campaign. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the purchase, and we're going to work backwards from the goal to try to figure out what are the steps we need to have somebody make in order to actually get them to purchase something. So we talked about apples before, okay? What about factories or corporations? Does social media work for them? Who says yes? Okay, most people don't think that it works, right? For big projects. But actually, the more people that are involved in a decision-making process, like buying a factory or buying a corporation, the more important social media is to the campaign to influence the decision makers along the way so they all get aligned in order to make the actual transaction. And in some cases, like in Microsoft's purchase of Skype, okay, the issue of social media comes into play afterwards, after the purchase. Because it's not a matter of making the purchase, which has already been done, it's a matter of convincing the shareholders that the purchase was actually a good one and that they shouldn't send the stock price down because Microsoft overpaid for the product. So the question is, what's the path that the person needs to take? Okay? Do you want to take a nice leisurely stroll to get to your product? Or do you want to take a highway? That nice leisurely stroll costs you a lot of money in terms of time. And time is the biggest killer for startups, which are a big industry in this country, because they don't have the ability to stay alive for a long time. They have to make sales very, very quickly. So what you want to do is you want to try to simplify the process as much as possible and streamline it so he actually races through to the checkout. You want to eliminate all the hurdles and all the mines that he can hit along the way, okay, and make him say yes at each step. Most of you work with the internet, right? How many of you spend more than 2 hours a day using the internet? Okay, almost everyone. How many of you spend more than 4 hours a day using the internet? Almost all of you. Now, if I'd asked you, when you guys first started using the internet, are you ready to give up your life and become addicted to a new drug? 12 years ago or 15 years ago, how many of you would have said yes? How many of you thought 15 years ago you would be spending this much time looking at a screen instead of interacting with people the way you used to do things? But because it happened gradually, and because you eased your way into it, it became natural. You want to take the person the same steps through the process of making a purchase. When you have a decision to make and when you're trying to sell a product, you have people in a boardroom. You might have a CFO, you might have a CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, you might have a CEO. All these people need to be convinced that all of these people need to be spoken to in a different language, in a different tone. They have different messages that they need to receive in order so that they'll say yes. When we're advertising products to children, are children actually the ones who make purchases? How many of you actually buy things for your kids? Most of the time you don't send the kid to the store and say, okay, go buy the cereal that you want, right? You have this massive battle in the supermarket aisle of, what cereal are you going to buy or what chocolate are you going to buy because he wants this because he saw it on TV. We spoke a message to the child received the message, the child has now become the social media connection to the parent to convince the parent to make the purchase that the child wants. And now the parent is stuck. Does he say no? Or say yes?
No, say no.
Okay, so the idea is we want to shorten the sales cycle as much as possible, okay, and do it in a fun way and an interactive way. We've identified the people who are involved in the purchasing process. Okay, we know who they are, and we know the battles that each one of them are going to come into. If we're talking to trying to sell a product to doctors in a hospital, are doctors really the ones who make a decision? Like the child? It's not the doctors, it's the hotel administrators. Okay? If I'm trying to talk to the IT guys to make a decision in a company, the guys who are responsible for giving you the tools that you need to do the work, are they the ones who actually make the decision, or is it the CFO who actually gives them the budget and enables them to make the purchase? Nobody works in a vacuum. And when you're building a social media campaign, you need to talk to each one of these people to get them aligned with your needs. That's a decision I can make by myself. If I go into the store and I want to buy a shirt for myself, that's probably a decision that I can make by myself. I might want to ask my girlfriend to say, hey, what do you think of this? Does this look good on me? But that's about all the input that she's going to have in terms of how I dress. But if I'm going to buy jewelry, is that a decision I really make by myself? Or is that something where I take my girlfriend with me and I say, hey honey, what would you like? Do you like this one? Do you like that one? Maybe I don't even tell her that I'm actually going to buy it. But I just bring her with me and I see what she looks at. I see what she's interested in. What makes her excited? If I'm going to buy a house, is that something I'm really going to do alone? Is that a decision I'm going to be able to make by myself? Okay? It's a nest. Okay? There's prestige. Can we afford it? There's all these different questions that the family unit has to make a decision about. Do we do this? Okay? When I'm buying a factory, what's the return on investment going to be like? Or if I'm Microsoft, after the purchase, how am I going to convince the world that I didn't overpay $4 billion? So the first thing we need to do is we need to understand the process. The person needs to become aware they have a problem. They have to consider your issue as the solution, and that's what drives them to actually make the purchase. There are many different factors that can influence. Okay? For instance, am I offering an opportunity for savings? Am I offering an opportunity that's going to appeal to someone's ego? Am I offering insurance that appeals to someone's fears? Is there something greed involved, an investment opportunity? Okay? You can make a quick buck now. Or guilt. Okay? Oops, I did something, I'm going to do something. How do I make up? Okay? When you create a message and you craft a social media message, it needs to be emotion. It needs to appeal to the subconscious of the individual who's responsible for making the purchasing decisions. And it needs to be tailored individually to affect their emotions in the way that we want it to. You need to be able to entice them with a place. Now, a place used to be a brick and mortar store. Today, a place can be online, or it can be both, as in the case of Best Buy. I can purchase it online, I can pick it up in the store. What's the process? What are the things that they have to go through? Do they need to read about this? Do they need to get more information from a third party first? Is there a PR campaign that needs to happen first before they actually go out and consider a purchase? Do they need to be made aware of it? Is there an advertisement that they need to see? Do they need to read an article in Forbes, okay, or in Calcalis, or in Globes in order to feel that it's real? Or is idiot enough? Okay? Who are the people involved? Who are their friends that might be able to influence their decision-making process? Do they have a friend who's a baker who can serve as a reference point? Can I bring that baker in and make him an affiliate? Okay? That he'll now be the one to send a message to his friends and he'll receive a commission on the purchases that are made?